Welcome to the Phil Steele Tour with selections, and up for you today we've got your FCS plays. 24-14 this year, so these FCS plays have been doing great. All these games currently up on FanDuel, and that's where the lines are coming from. They're coming from FanDuel. And let's take a look at this week's matchups. And, of course, Phil Steele Plus not only gives you complete coverage on all the FBS, but also all the FCS games. And here we start off with North Dakota, the Fighting Hawks against the Illinois State Redbirds. All right, let's dive right in and see what we got going on this game. Now, last week on the tour, we won with North Dakota, plus 12.5 against South Dakota. And we mentioned that North Dakota was 29-3 straight up at home, 8-2 as a dog with 8 outright upsets. Well, the Fighting Hawks scored a late TD to cover, losing 42-36. Now, that was their 6th loss of the year. And now they go on the road to play a 9-3 Illinois State team. Now, as good as North Dakota is at home and delivered for us last week, North Dakota is 1-8 straight up, 2-7 ATS on the road. And I do want to remind you, if you go to the Phil Steele Plus menu and you're a Phil Steele Plus member, go to FCS information. You can go to FCS logs. And when you go to FCS logs, you get the complete logs on every single team. I'll show you this once. I won't show it to you numerous times. If you're a Phil Steele Plus member, just go to it and look the next time I mention the spread. But you'll see that this year, you can look at their record. They did win there, lost there, lost there, lost there. 1-3 straight up in ATS on the road. And now we'll go back to, let me click back here. Oh, let me just show you something real quick, what we've got on Phil Steele Plus for all the FCS information. We do have the average game grades for the year. Let's see who's number 1. North Dakota State. Montana State is number 2. And we're going to be talking about Montana State this week. South Dakota State, the defending champ, number 3. Those teams are all at the top. So there's your top teams in average game grade on FCS. And we'll continue along here. See FCS information. See what else we got. You want to know pass efficiency? We've got that for you. McNeese State, number 1. Montana State, that team we talked about. We'll talk about them later. Number 2 in pass efficiency. I like that. So all this information for you on all the FCS teams. Do make sure you check them out. All right, let's go to FCS, go to team pages. And as mentioned over here, we've got North Dakota on the left. Now, I said North Dakota is 1-3 this year. If you go to the last 6 years' logs right here, this takes you back to last year. You can see that they lost to Boise. You know, if it's bold, that means they won the game. The W and L refers to whether or not they covered the game. So as you see, road loss, road loss, road loss, road win, but they did not cover, and road loss. So actually 0-5 last year on the road, 1-3 this year on the road against the spread. So this is a team that does struggle on the road as much as we liked them at home last week. Now, their playoff hopes were busted in last week's loss. North Dakota is minus 70 yards per game on the road. Now, we break down the home and away just like we do on the FBS. As you can see here, they're minus 70 on the road. And minus 42 versus the Missouri Valley. That's right here. If you look at their conference record, they're minus 42. Illinois State needs a win to put them firmly in the playoffs. North Dakota's run D has been awful lately, and I love the red-green. You just glance at this page and you say, okay, where's their weakness? Well, you look where the red is. And here, look at the last 4 weeks. They're allowing 284 yards per game, 6.7 yards per carry. And even prior to that, they were struggling, but not as bad as the last 4 weeks. So they cannot stop the run. Illinois State is led by Wenkers Wright. Here's Wenkers. He's got 917 yards, 5.2. And look at the green in here. We got a lot of green. And they are averaging 4.7 yards per carry. So I'm thinking Wenkers Wright has a big game. And by the way, if you click on the individual player stats, let's see when Wenkers Wright's biggest games were. He had 109 here, 104 here, 150 here, 106, and 153. So he has 5 100-yard games. I'm banking on a 6 this week. Now, North Dakota's lost 4 straight, while Illinois State's won 4 straight. Look at this. They are plus 130 yards per game the last 4 games. They are minus 114 yards per game the last 4 games. They are at home against a poor road team, and the Redbirds have a big edge. Look at the last 4 weeks YPG, guys. 82.6 to 70.8. Add in a 2-point home edge. You're looking at 84.6. That's calling for Illinois State by 14. Why are they a 1.5-point favorite? We're taking Illinois State -1.5. I like that play. Makes a lot of sense, and love the last 4 weeks action there. Also love the matchup of a strong run offense against a weak run defense. Like the fact that we're better yards per game in conference play. Illinois State should be over a 3-point favorite, and they're only -1.5. All right, let's move on to your next game for this week. It is Montana State against Montana. And the home team here is Montana State. That's the team we were just talking about. They're pretty doggone good this year. Look at Montana State the last couple years. This year they got all the way to the national title game. Here they actually lost their last game to Montana, then lost to North Dakota State in the playoffs. But look at this. They're undefeated this year. And let's take a look at Montana. They would be on the left. They are the visitor. And put them here, the Grizzlies. All right, the home team has dominated the last 4 meetings. Let's take a look at that. At Montana, they lost. So they're playing with revenge. You know how the revenge thing is doing on the schedule with numbers. And I don't have it for the FCS, but the revenge is not 79-38. And remember, the revenge with the schedule with numbers is up there. It's called the schedule predictor on the menu of the Phil Steele Plus. But revenge plays 79-38. This is a legitimate revenge play this week. Prior to that, in 2022, they were at home and won 55-21. They went on the road to Montana and lost 29-10. And they were home to Montana and won 48-14. So that's winning by 34. Winning by 19, that's 53. Winning by 34, that's 85, 86, 87. And losing by 30, that's 117 points. 25, that'd be about 29, almost 30 points per game the home team's winning by. Wow. Chris has it written down here. 29 points per game, 4-0 ATS. Now, Montana State's out for revenge. The Bobcats are 11-0 and number 2 in the FCS coaches poll. They're on a 6-0-1 ATS run. Once again, I could take you back to the logs and show you, but since you've got the time, just go ahead and look at the logs. You'll see that they're 6-0-1 the last 7. Now, last week they led UC Davis, number 5 UC Davis, by the way, 30-8. Let's go back and take a look at this. So they led this thing 30-8, gave up 3 touchdowns in the last 7 minutes. So it was a misleading 2-point road win. Montana is 8-3, but only 2-9 ATS, and they lost at home to that same UC Davis team by 16 just 2 weeks ago, right there. Montana State is plus 202 yards per game. Right here, you see that. And plus 178 yards per game versus the Big Sky. Montana's just plus 84 yards per game and plus 50 versus the Big Sky. Now, Montana State's led by Tommy Mellott, and Mellott's played here for 2 years. We've talked about him on the tour for a couple of years because in this run to the championship game, we talked about Mellott and Chambers. We talked about Mellott and Chambers. This year, it's just Mellott. He's got a 21-1 ratio. He's hitting 70%. This is a guy that knows how to play in big-time games. He also has 590 yards rushing. And I like the fact that that's not the number 1 rusher. You got a guy with 7'11". You got a guy with 12'21". It's a team that can run the football. Scotty Humphrey has over 1,200 yards and Adam Jones 700. Montana allowed just 213 yards to Portland State. The computer has Montana just allowed 213 yards rushing to Portland State. Sorry about that. The computer has Montana State by 14. The last 4 weeks, AGG says Montana by 22.5. Look at this. They're playing at a 79 level. They're playing at a 99 level. So that is Montana State by 22.5, and they're only laying 11.5. There's a lot to like here, and Chris thinks that Montana State wins big. We're going with Montana State minus 11.5 over Montana. All right, let's take a look at Northern Arizona against Eastern Washington now. Your home team is Northern Arizona. We'll put them on the right. By the way, I'd like to, somebody pointed out that I had North Carolina and Boston College switched. I had the Boston College over here on the left and North Carolina on the right. You know I like to put the home teams on the right and the visitor on the left, so I appreciate you pointing that out on the tour, the FBS tour. And I put that up a day late, so if you haven't taken it, make sure you check it out for the FCS tour. Now, we got Eastern Washington is the visitor. We're going to put them on the left. There's Eastern Washington. All right, let's take a look at what we got here for this one. Now, we went with Northern Arizona last week, minus 18.5 against Northern Colorado, and they won easily, 44-3, and look at the yardage, 535 to 135. You got to love that. This week they host Eastern Washington. Now, NAU is 7-4 and right on the playoff bubble. The Lumberjacks have won their last 4 games and are plus 101 yards per game, plus 99 in the Big Sky. Like that they're plus 99 in the Big Sky. Eastern Washington is 4-7. Now, they've won their last 2, but they're actually minus 14 yards per game on the season and only plus 2 yards per game in the Big Sky. Eastern Washington's put up 120 points in their last 2 games and rushed for a 314, 6.2, actually 317, 6.2. Oh, in their last 4, it's 314, 6.2 is what they're rushing for. So you like that. In their last 4, NAU has a big defensive edge. They allow 303 yards per game. These guys are allowing 471 yards per game. That's not even close defensively. Wow. While Eastern Washington allows 479 and 79 yards per game more than their foe's average. Now, this column's good. It tells you what they do versus their opponent average. So if you play a really good opponent that's averaging 500 yards per game and you give up 500 yards, that's not a bad performance. That rates is even. Well, here they're giving opponents 79 yards above what they come in averaging. Meanwhile, Northern Arizona, the Lumberjacks, are holding opponents to 70 yards per game below what they're averaging. I don't see a single negative number here. They have held every single opponent this year below their season average. Do I see a positive number over here? I see 2 positive numbers. Other than that, they allow their opponents more yards than they had. That's a large, large, large defensive edge. I'm looking at the spread right now. It's 4.5. To have that kind of defensive edge with that spread, wow. Now, quarterback Kiko Vesperis does have a 17-1 ratio, but NAU is number 3 in our pass efficiency ratings. Remember, I clicked on the pass efficiency? Go back to that part of the video if you missed it, or if you're a Phil Steele Plus member, just go to your pass efficiency ratings. You'll see they're number 3, allowing just 58%. So that's good. We can match up well against them. Northern Arizona has won all 4 of their home games this year. They have the motivation edge with the playoff bid on the line. The AGG says NAU by 9.5, and they're only laying 4.5 points here. I can't believe with that defensive edge, we're only laying 4.5 points. It's Northern Arizona minus 4.5 over Eastern Washington. And finally, we'll wrap it up with UC Davis battling Sacramento State. Before I wrap it up, a couple of quick notes. If you want to get all this information for all the FCS games, here's the Phil Steele Plus Tour Special. We did drop the price to $69 this week. Type in the code EXPERTWINS. It's $59 through the Super Bowl. You get the FCS information. You get the FBS information. You get the NFL information. I didn't talk too much about that yesterday, but we do have complete NFL information. And I want to take a look at some of this here. Strength of wins, pain of losses. So I think I did go over that yesterday. Who's got the most? You get credit for every win of your opponent. We don't do that for the FCS yet, but maybe we'll get that going next year. We quite possibly could. And then remember, you can also get right here, the FCS magazine gives you 2 full pages on every single team. Use this as reference for the playoffs. Use this as reference for the final week of the FCS regular season. Here's your complete write-ups on every game. And then here is your complete 2 full pages on every single FCS team in that margin. And all you have to do to get that, you just go to philsteele.com. And when you go to philsteele.com, go to the store right here. And when you click on the store, you'll see here's the FCS magazine. Here is Phil Steele Plus. You see it's $69, but type in that code, you'll get it for $59. If you want to get press box for the college this week, it's up and available now. This says $79. Todd's going to drop that price this morning to $59 for the rest of the year of the college because there's only 3 weeks left. But here's this week's edition, just $20. And by the way, if you get inside the press box for the rest of the year, and it'll drop to $59 this morning by the time this is up, you actually get Phil Steele Plus for the rest of the year as well. So keep that in mind. All right, let's get back to your menu of these teams. And we're looking at UC Davis against Sacramento State. So we go to FCS information, we go to team pages, and we're going to put UC Davis on the left here. And we are going to come over here, and we are going to put Sacramento State on the right. Let's put Sacramento State on the right and see what we got here. It's the Hornets against the Aggies. All right, let's dive into this one, guys. UC Davis is 9-2 and angry off their loss to Montana State 2 weeks ago. Right here, they lost to Montana State by 2. That was their first loss in a long time. The Aggies still need a win to secure their first round bye, and they get a Sac State team that has fallen apart. since winning their first 2 against the FCS teams. Sac State suffered key injuries, including last year's starting quarterback Caden Bennett. You see here, Caden Bennett was a starter, 64%, 16-8 ratio. If we click on individual player stats, you can see that Caden Bennett was a starter the first 2 games, gone, out for the year. So that's hurt Sac State. You've got Conklin in there. He is doing pretty well, hitting 61% with a 23-7 ratio. Sac State has lost 4 straight. You take a look at the red down here, you get that right at a glance. And I see a lot of red in here the last 4 weeks. Let's see what they're minus 81 yards per game. Wow. Now, UCD is plus 111 yards per game on the season, plus 141 in the Big Sky. Sac State is minus 12 on the season, but minus 73 in the Big Sky. So a big difference there. Last week, Sac State lost to Cal Poly, who had only won 1 game against an FCS foe this year, and they lost to them by 3. I could go back and show that to you, but you, once again, if you're a Phil Steele Plus member, just click on Cal Poly. You'll see their record. UCD's Miles Hastings, that's quarterback right here, is hitting 69% with a 29-7 ratio. Sac State is allowing 252 yards per game rush, 5.6. Look at the red. Look at the green over here, 188, 4.7. And we have this team here as one of the top running backs in the FCS, and Lan Larson, who has got 1,173 yards rushing, 686 yards receiving. Wow. Computer is UCD by 24. In the last 4 weeks, AGG has UCD by 28.3. Look at this, 97 to 67. Remember, the average game grade accounts for the yards rushing, yards passing, both offense and defense, points, both offense and defense. No starting point for you, only who you faced. So the AGG doesn't care who you are. If these stats right here were put up against those opponents by Sac State would have a 97.8 AGG. So that's pretty significant that the last 4 weeks AGG is UCD by 28.5, and they're only laying 11.5. Sac State will be happy to see the season end. UC Davis wants to win big and get that first round bye. We're going with UC Davis minus 11.5 over Sac State. I'd like to take the time to thank you for taking the Phil Steele Plus tour with me this week. The FCS plays 24-14. It looks like we got some good plays this week, guys. Let's hope they all come through as winners. And thanks for taking the tour. If you haven't checked out the FBS tour yet this week, make sure you check that out. And thank you for taking the Phil Steele Plus tour.